All right, Bulls and Bears, all hell is literally breaking loose here. We have massive protests in LA. The question is, will this spread across the U.S. and will it disrupt markets and overall the economy? I think the answer to that is a big yes. Let's go ahead and get right into it here, folks. Now, a lot of us here, investors, or just people watching the economy, we've been waiting really for the next shoe to drop. We've been looking for a black swan event, the big disruption, kind of like the one we saw in 2020 that temporarily brought markets down, but it changed life forever for most people because that's when inflation was really ignited in 2020 with the events that unfolded with the health crisis. This year in 2025, are we going to see the next shoe to drop? And will it be another life-changing transition or life-changing situation where we see massive protests unfolding across the U.S.? I think it's very, very possible. And here's why. Well, first, let's take a look at a couple news stories here. National Guard was called in, military called in Los Angeles at the order of this current administration here. National Guards were seen in L.A. Sunday on orders from the current administration in response to clashes between authorities and protesters seeking to block people from being sent out of the country. Wow, look at some of the graffiti on the walls. So LA has been turned into a chaos zone here. Wow, look at this. It's going to be some injuries out of this. Hopefully nothing too crazy, too serious, but we all know what happened in 2020. In addition to the health crisis, we had massive nationwide unrest, all right, for lack of a better term. This year, I think it's going to be much worse than what we saw in 2020. Not from a health crisis standpoint, not masks and all the lockdowns and stuff like that, but I think we're going to see massive unrest unfold this summer, not later this year, not 5 months from now, this summer. We're talking weeks to months away, and I shouldn't actually say that because it's unfolding now. But sometimes things have to break in order to figure out how to pick up the pieces. Will this be the situation that brings this whole house of cards down, right? I'm afraid of what's going to evolve out of this. I don't want it to be dangerous for the average person out there. Obviously, there's people out there choosing to go into these territories and these zones. They're choosing to put themselves in harm's way, but I'm just hoping innocent people don't get caught up in this. But unfortunately, I think it's going to be too late. I mean, the fact that they had to deploy the military for this, folks, this is absolutely insane. But sometimes things have to really go into chaos before an economic downturn or economic decline. And could this be a way to cover up everything that's happening right now financially with the debt levels and everything else? And also, how bad does it have to get before it affects markets? We've seen the markets shrug off a lot of big things, a lot of things that have happened, and it just seems like they keep going up and up and up. Now, we did have a drop in 2020. We had another drop here this year as the tariffs were announced, but we've just about regained all the losses that we saw at the beginning of the year in every indice here. Let's just bring up a couple of them before we go on to the other news here. Starting off here with the S&P, and let's just look at year to date. It shows us right here. Year to date, we're up 2.25%. So we recovered from the sell-off. And by the way, we said buy the dip right here. For those of you that have been on this channel that watch every episode, that was an excellent call on that one. Let's go over to the Dow Jones. Same thing. Let's go to a year-to-date chart. Recovered. Actually, we're up 0.8% from the beginning of the year. So we are positive for the year on those two indices here. Let's check out one more. And I'll take a look at the NASDAQ next here. I got a lot of good news to get into here in just a bit, though. Year-to-date, wow, up 10%. So the NASDAQ more than recovered from that early April sell-off. And it's been on a skyrocket here. So folks, this is what we look for. We look for investment opportunities, right? Looking at the news is good. Knowing what's happening financially is good. But if you're not benefiting from it and trading off of it and making money of it, maybe it's entertaining without making money. But if you're making money off of it, that's the thing we need to do, folks, especially with inflation out of control. Look for investment opportunities. And I'm not the best investor in the world. I sold things too soon that I shouldn't have sold. I bought things that I shouldn't have bought. But overall, I believe if you track the way that we look at the economy and look for investment opportunities, if you are on this channel and you've been keeping a track of those things, I think you're up very, very significantly. And I've had to file taxes for trading gains that I've made over the past few years. So I definitely know that I'm making some money. The tax part of it's not fun, but if you're not paying taxes and you're not making money, that's one way to look at it. We reported recently about the cost of course, groceries, but Salmonella now taking out a lot more eggs. 6 other states are now added to the list of the Salmonella outbreaks, so get ready for higher prices with eggs. No break there. Get ready for car prices to start going up. And in fact, we're starting to feel the impact of the tariffs right now. Here's a recent report here. And waiting for it to load here. Here's how they put it over at Bloomberg. Of course, they're going to try to block it here. U.S. inflation to tick higher as tariffs reach consumers, folks. So now it is happening. And add on top of this the unrest we're seeing right now, which is going to cause a lot of disruptions, and I think a lot of inflation as well. And again, this could be a way to cover up this economic collapse, folks. And the sad part is we have nobody out there putting forward or presenting any solutions. 0 solutions, folks. In fact, they're talking about making things worse. They're talking about adding fuel, throwing fuel on the fire. Let's talk about what just happened again here recently. More calls for lower interest rates, folks. The same thing, folks, that got us into this mess is being presented again. We've got the press out there pressing Fed Chief Powell to cut interest rates by a full point despite strong jobs growth, right? He knows that this game is coming to an end here. So more back and forth, more criticizing. And I wasn't a fan of the current administration. I'm not really a fan of this one here for the most part. But the previous one, as bad as they were, they weren't pressing for lower interest rates, right? So when you look at this thing economically, financially, it's looking like it's getting a lot worse. And you look at the numbers, things are getting worse. Debt levels are getting worse. Not much is getting better. Cost of living still going up. So folks, brace for impact, because I think what we talked about at the beginning, this unrest is going to cause a lot of chaos and I think even more spiking costs of living, unfortunately. All right, so prepare for that. And how can we invest to benefit from this? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes here, of course. But first, let's talk about an economist, a investor, Nouriel Roubini. Now, he's someone that's kind of notorious for always being bearish, always saying the worst is going to happen. Well, what he's saying is it's not going to be a deflationary collapse. He's saying the markets are going to continue to boom, and they're just going to keep throwing more fuel on the fire, just like we talked about, lower interest rates, more easy money. I think they're going to have to re-implement all these loan repayment programs to where people can actually probably not have to pay them at all, but at least give them more time to not pay them is probably what they're going to do to kick the can down the road a few years. Wall Street has been calling him Dr. Doom for 17 years, but Nouriel Roubini, the economist famous for his persistently bearish calls on the economy, is now saying helicopter money. He says they're just going to keep the markets propped up. They're going to keep pumping more easy money into the system, finding new ways to get people into these overpriced homes. By the way, home sales are at a 40-year low, so they need to work harder on that. Dr. Doom transformed to Dr. Boom. He says Mickey Mouse could be the U.S. president and the economy will keep growing. That's because it's not about who's quote-unquote running things. It's about the financial system. It's about monetary policy. And, of course, that's why they're calling for lower rates. Really, no solutions, just more easy money. I mean, am I wrong? If I'm wrong, let me know what you think about it. Don't just hit thumbs down and say this guy's wrong because you're offended because maybe your favorite political person, is being cornered here. But let me know why I'm wrong. Let me know exactly why I'm wrong. Not just because you don't like to hear this, but because I'm wrong. I mean, let me know down in the comments. Right? Nobody's coming up with any solutions to the problems that are facing most people in this country. All right, bottom line, folks. And again, let me know what the correct answer is if I'm wrong here. But let's move on to some other news, folks, because a couple things I wanted to get into here, kind of on a different note here. People in this country, they want to look like they're doing well or look wealthy when they're really not. I just watched another video with this tow truck driver, this repo driver, and let me just bring it up here real quick. Life with Ebb, and that's EB. He's the repo truck driver. I talked about him here before. He's a college student. I'm just going to play a little bit of it here. And I think there's some cursing, so I'm going to go ahead and mute it here. But a college student getting his Mercedes repoed. And I know this because he was begging the repo guy not to take his Mercedes, saying that, oh, I'm a student, you need to, help me out, don't tow me. And then he offered to give the tow truck driver this laptop. And the tow truck guy, he's like, okay, you could sell that laptop and maybe make your car payment. The bottom line is he's behind on his car payment. Right? So first question, why does the student need a Mercedes? And if you're trying to sell your laptop to stop your car from getting repoed, why don't you just sell the laptop? Or he's trying to give the laptop to the tow truck driver, right? So people have their priorities twisted. A lot of people, I would say most people, right? They have their priorities twisted. They want to look wealthy when they're not. They want to finance the most expensive car that they can because they want to look rich, I guess. I mean, what's the other reason? I mean, you can get a nice running car for less than you would for that Mercedes. And that looked like a pretty new Mercedes as well. But most people don't want to do that. They want to look richer. They want to look more wealthy than they really are. I think a lot of that's because of our culture. We see these reality shows where the housewives and all this stuff, that people that are wealthy, they're looked at as, oh, that's what you want to be. That's what you want to strive for. But when you look into the details, a lot of them aren't really that wealthy. Even though they make money, they choose a lifestyle where they have to spend a lot of money. We just talked about one last week, a former NBA player for the Lakers, actually, and some other teams too, but he played for the Lakers at one point. Lamar Odom. He had a residence in LA that was $15,000 a month. He finally got evicted after owing something like $60,000 in back rent. Right? Why rent the place for $15,000? Yes, LA is expensive, but you don't need a place for $15,000 a month. You can actually rent the place for $2,000. And if you want to get really tiny, you can still get an apartment, a studio, or a one bedroom for maybe $1,400, maybe $1,500. Maybe not in the best part of town, but $15,000 for rent, and then you get evicted. It's crazy, folks. Here's another one here. What do you think about this? Woman accused of being heartless for refusing to loan her brother $4,500 to avoid eviction. Well, first of all, this woman, does she have an extra $4,500? And if she did, is that all the money she has? Maybe she'll be the one getting evicted if she lets him borrow the money. And then what's going to happen here? A woman on Reddit is looking for feedback after she was asked to loan her brother $4,500 to help him pay overdue rent. The mother of two declined, though her mother called her heartless and for refusing to help. Now she's torn after her mother accused her of not setting a good example for her children. The woman, 28-year-old mother of two, there you go. She's a mother of two. She probably needs the money for her kids. Quote, he's been struggling financially for a while now because of poor spending habits. There you go, folks. And now he's in danger of being evicted, she explained. He said his life would fall apart if she didn't help. How do I get this ad taken down? While sympathetic, she ultimately decided against helping him. She felt compelled to prioritize her own family's needs over his. That's a tough situation, folks, when family is looking to borrow money. And you really are not doing, if you're not doing that good yourself, you could be very reluctant to do that. She says, quote, we're not in a position to throw around that kind of money, especially since I have my own family to take care of. Does she go on to talk about what her brother did, though? According to the woman, her mother accused her of being selfish. Yeah, we know that. What kind of stuff was he spending his money on, though, here? Let's see here. She was called unsupportive, mounting criticism. She feels bad. She's a good person, but she doesn't feel comfortable helping. Well, I wish she would have got more into why she thinks her brother made bad financial decisions. I mean, examples are everywhere. The college loan or the college college student probably has student loans, but college student driving a Mercedes, trying to give the tow truck driver his laptop, not to take his car. There's one example, but everywhere you look, I mean, let me know your examples down below. Who do you know that just overspends and maybe tries to look more successful than they really are, right? One of my cars has fading paint. It runs good. It's a Honda Pilot. It's only got 116,000, which is not a lot for Hondas. They typically go pretty far, but the paint's all faded because I don't park in a garage, and it doesn't look very nice, but it's reliable. It runs good. So, I've got certain people telling me or asking me that to buy a nicer, newer vehicle, but I'm like, it runs fine. Yeah, we may not look the coolest with the paint being faded from the sun, like on the roof and in the hood. It's kind of instead of maroon, it's basically turned to gray down to the primer because all the sun faded. I said it runs good, so I'm not too worried about it right now. Maybe I would look cooler, but who really notices you going down the road that you want to impress that's going to actually make a difference? Or any of the people that see you on the road driving around in a brand new car, are they going to see you and give you money later? Are they going to see you and give you a high five because they like your car, because it looks new? Are you going to get maybe a significant other because they think you're successful, right? That's all the wrong reasons. Even if it was, those are all the wrong reasons. High fives are not going to help your life. Somebody that wants you or wants to be with you in a relationship because they think you're successful, that's not who you want to be with, folks. Here's an example. I remember I used to try to work out all the time and get in the best shape all the time. And my goal was, I want to attract, or I want to get the attention of the most attractive person I can. So I want to be in shape. I want to be, looking the best. But if that's not you, if you're not always in shape, the person that you found attracted to you because you were in great shape, what are they going to do when you stop working out every day? When you have a busy life where you can't go to the gym every day? And now you're gaining some weight. You don't look as healthy as you used to. Maybe you can't sleep as much as you used to because now you've got a family. Things are more expensive. You're not going to look as young and resilient as you once were. So if you're choosing a person to be with because they thought you were attractive, you might want to think again. You might want to look at somebody or try to get with somebody that's compatible based on your life, your views, having fun together, right? Stuff like that. Don't mean to get off into a relationship thing, but it does have to do with finance when you think about it, because some people prioritize fitness and looking good and looking like they're successful versus actually being successful, right? So moving on here, folks. Corporate layoffs have ramped up in recent weeks, and there's many companies now laying people off. This just came out here over the past couple days. A lot of them, folks. Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, Citigroup, Walmart, wow, Klarna, CrowdStrike, Chegg, Disney, Amazon, Warner Brothers. So, folks, they're looking to get rid of as many people as possible. I'm just talking about corporate America in general. Replacing you with AI, replacing you with a automated menu, a voice prompt, replacing you with a digital menu where people can just type in their order and not have to have so many employees, folks. That's what pretty much every big company is striving to do. So people better prepare for it. And with the cost of living so high, with people under so much debt, getting laid off now is one of the scariest times ever to be laid off. All right, folks. So keep in mind, we're at or close to a breaking point, in my opinion. Will it be the social unrest and the chaos that's happening that sets us off? Or will it just be a natural collapse from too much borrowed money not being paid back? Consumer debt delinquency surges to a 5-year high as these loans are not being paid back, folks. Let me know what you think about this down in the comments. By the way, thank you everybody for supporting me, for coming back to this channel. And, there's a lot of other channels you could be on. And if you're on 100 channels a day and one of them is mine, I thank you for being here, right? So let me know what you think about this in comments. Let me know about any of this. And what do you think about the social unrest? Is it going to spread sort of like 2020, what we saw with a lot of chaos and devastation? And will it scare the markets? Or is Nouriel Roubini correct? Is it just going to be more easy money propping up the markets. And should we go long on these markets? Because it's just going to be more fuel in the fire, more helicopter money, lower rates eventually. Let me know about any of this, folks. As always, keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.